So I finally get to tell you all about my favorite eyeshadow palettes for fall time. I'm talking about makeup. Yes, you'd be correct. Love me some makeup. So I tag everybody in the fragrance community to do this tag. If you wear makeup, I wear makeup like twice a week, 3 times a week sometimes. So I tag everyone in the fragrance community, Juvia, Veronica, yeah, everyone. Yes, I challenge you, do this. So yes, do this video if you wear makeup, if you like wearing makeup. I have on a little bit more of a simple look today, so I'm not really wearing a fall inspired on my eyes. This is what I would wear January through December, pretty much. Let's go. I think I need to sit on the edge of my bed because my feet really hurt. Hold on. So let me get started with my favorite eyeshadow palettes for this particular season, for cuffing season. Depending upon which part of the Northern Hemisphere you reside, you wear your scarves, your gloves, your hats, your knitwear, and your cool or warm toned eyeshadow palettes. So these are just a few go-tos for me that satiate my lifestyle for day to day. A couple of them are more on the formal side. I have formal eyeshadows, formal formulas for each category of makeup, just like with my perfumes. On and on. Oh, the first one is Natasha Denona Glam Palettes. Yeah, guys, if you have not tried this, you're missing out. I will say though, that if you like the more trendy looks, that you see on Instagram, you probably won't like this palette. This is more for a classic look, and it's definitely for formal wear. It's definitely more low-key, but it looks glam, but it doesn't look like too much. You can wear it daytime and evening. So that being said, I do think that this is a very versatile cool tone palette, but it has some warm, not warm, it has some neutral underpinnings in it. It has some beautiful bronzy gilded gold here and a nice peachy brown there. And I love this palette for the colder months, and it just has served me so well. I love wearing it with red lips. I love wearing it with berry lips and my purple lips. It's just a beautiful muted gray and brown scale palette that is beautiful for those vampier lips and those vampire days. So I don't go too dark on my eyes when I have dark lips. So these 2 shades up here are phenomenal for that purpose. If I just want a nice matte eye, clay hued eye, then I just reach for those 2, maybe one of the mattes over here, and put on my red lip or my vampy lip, and I'm good to go. So this is the Vampiress palette of my dreams. It lends itself to being quite a classic beauty in terms of finishes. They're not overly sparkly. They are more of a refined shimmer pearl. Not a low pearl, but a pretty high pearl, high shine, not high shine, not foiled, but a couple of them have a little bit of sparkle to them, just a little. It's very understated, so it's not like Chanel or Dior or their formula or anything like that. No, it's not that subtle. It's more apparent and it's more glamorous than that, and it's more high shine than that, but it's not quite as high shine as, you know, your Pat McGrath, your more foiled shimmers. So this is definitely a beautiful palette for every day in the fall and winter months. So Natasha Denona Glam palette, I do love that this reminds me so much of my Naked 2 palette. I don't, however, like that there is such an imbalance amongst the mattes and shimmers in here. If you only get 5 mattes and you get 10 shimmers, that's not the best ratio to have for an eyeshadow palette, in my opinion. So I have to pull in some mattes from other palettes in order to get a cohesive, balanced look with this most of the time. And I do love this shade. This is the only pink tone shade. And I think that a couple of these can be swapped out for mattes, for, you know, more interesting mattes. I think that they could have added a nice, really deep, really desaturated green in here. It's just really a missed opportunity for a couple of the slots in this palette, but still, I shouldn't complain because it's a beautiful palette for being pre-made. And it's just, I like selecting my own shades for my palettes, so that's why I don't generally gravitate towards pre-made palettes. So yeah, Glam palette, she's that bae. Ooh, I thought I was gonna lose it. Okay, you'll look at this palette and you'll think, once I open it up, honey, what are you doing showing us a springtime palette? Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. No, I'm just kidding. Most of the time I don't. So these three I wear for fall time. And I think that all these shimmers, these are what I call foiled shimmers. Foiled, okay? Not pearly, not satin, foiled. So these are beautiful. I love this palette for fall time and for springtime. I think it's easily adaptable, easily transitional for many different seasons. It can be, you can have some cooler tones that you can work with that can be like a nice ice princess look, like this one and this one and this one, and then you have a couple of nice pinks in here that you can use for spring. And this purple I think is the only, what's it called, Celestial. This is the only one that is a little bit more muted of a finish on my eyes. It's a little bit more dull than the rest of them are. So I find that I have to use a glitter glue to really amp up the shine and the pigment of that purple. But otherwise, all the rest of them are chef's kiss, perfect quality. And I love these three for the fall time. So a nice mulberry, a nice, I don't know, like a tiger's eye brown, orangey brown shade, like an ambery brown, and then a nice taupe, matte taupe. So beautiful shades. These are very nighttime appropriate, and I would actually recommend that you use them in the nighttime, because especially the deeper ones, because they are so high shine, they're so foiled, they're so metallic, and just, it looks like liquid metal on your eyes. And I don't know how ABH does it, but yeah, this one especially, like these two and this one, yeah, beautiful. I just love them for the fall time, and I can get so many different looks out of this. I just love the balance that they have, that ABH always has across the board with her palettes. I just wish that they were in slightly larger pans. I've had this for a while and I use it pretty regularly. You would not tell though, because I use very little. You only need to use very little with each shade. So yeah, it's been well loved. They last all day too, so can't forget that. That is a deciding factor for whether or not I'm going to recommend an eyeshadow palette, is if it lasts all day, if the formula doesn't fade, and yeah, the whole nine. Okay, so the next palette that I have to talk about is the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. You may not be hearing about this much on the YouTube. Very much recommend it for personal use. However, when I was in my process of going into makeup artistry, I was finding out which brands I could use, and I found out very quickly with this brand that it's not good for sanitizing. It's not good for disinfecting. If it comes into contact, any contact at all, with alcohol, 90 proof alcohol, these shadows will develop hard pan immediately, and it'll be a bitch to get rid of. So I would not recommend using these for your kit or your any pro work that you do, because of that reason. So I just recommend them for personal use. They're beautiful for personal use. It's just that they use ingredients in these that just does not make them, they do not like alcohol at all. They fold like a pair of jeans. when they come into contact with any alcohol whatsoever. Even like a light spray, forget it. So this is a beautiful palette. I have a Freeform palette full of Sydney Grace shadows, and I have the Mel Thompson palette. I recommend this palette for fall time, for any time of the year for that matter, because it is very versatile. You get neutral, warm, and cool. The warm that you get, however, are more along the pink side of things. So if you're into that, there's a whole pink row for you right up here. And I don't typically use the pinks that often. I use this one sometimes, but I don't typically use the shades up here that often. I tend to gravitate more towards these rows. So yeah, my most loved are definitely these two shades. This one fell out. Actually today when I was doing my makeup, I have two of these shades on my eyes right now, and they are these two, the ones I use the most. So yeah, I use these in conjunction with my Viseart Neutral Mattes palette. So yeah, these are beautiful. You get your more putty browns down here, you get your more neutral browns right here, and they do definitely show up neutral on your eyes, on my eyes at least. And you have some foiled finishes in here. I love that they combined more low pearl finishes with foils. That is genius. So I can use this in my outer corner. I can use these 1, 2, 3 shades. These are low pearl, almost satins, but very pigmented. I can use those 3 in my outer thirds, on the outer third of my lid, without having to worry about them looking like they're too much. I can just rely on them to create depth, dimension. And then when I put a lighter shade in the inner corner that may be a little bit more sparkly and more blinged out, it looks more balanced, you know? So, and it looks less loud. So I really love these. There are 3 high voltage, high shine shimmers in here. The mattes are impeccable. I love that Sydney Grace decided to go all out with the mattes, and the mattes are what comprise the bulk of this palette. I love this black too. It's beautiful. And these are more cool tone, and this is more, yeah, it's just beautiful. And it definitely bears resemblance to the long discontinued Naked 2 palette, which I miss. It's a dearly departed palette. I loved it even more than I loved my Naked original palette. So oh, okay, I gotta hurry. Okay. So the next palette is another neutral palette that is more focused on mattes. And I will say that Sydney Grace mattes are the way to go when it comes to indie brands. They're just good all around. But with, you know, your more professional mattes that you can use in industry, and you can keep disinfecting and cleaning them, and the formula will not change no matter what, I recommend Viseart. And this is particularly very heavily used by moi in the spring, actually all year round. But in the fall time, I get a lot of use out of these. They're just so well pigmented. This is the gold standard of eyeshadow as far as I'm concerned. I bought this for half off when Viseart was having their half off sale. It was a spring sale, I think, last year, and I kind of made 2 orders. This was when I was still buying makeup. And yeah, you can tell I bought a lot of stuff for half off, and this palette was one of those items. So I got this for 40 some odd dollars. These retail for $80. I would never pay retail for these palettes. No matter how good they are. They're very good. I can understand why people who have the money would pay that money for them, but I personally would not. So these 2 are the most used. You get a nice row of more transitional colors. This is almost the perfect palette for me. It's not quite perfect because I think they could have condensed this top row to just these 2 shades and given us a couple more interesting colors, because if you mix these 2, you're going to get some variation of these 2 middle shades. So that's one bummer. Oh, and also these 2 shades tend to show up pretty similarly on the eyes once blended out. Just some food for thought. So other than that though, this is almost the perfect matte palette. While this is not the perfect matte palette, it is damn close. So beautiful. We'll keep this forever. We'll repurchase once I run out if they have a good sale going on where I can purchase it again for $40. So gold standard for mattes. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. Viseart, last palette. Viseart Dark Edit palette. So this is a nice witchy palette. It's a more artistic palette, which is a far cry from all the other palettes I've shown you, but these are really gorgeous, very saturated hues. You got some beautiful russet shades here, a russet orange, a nice chestnut brown here, a nice mulberry brown, and then a nice slightly yellow toned mid-tone brown. And then you got your inky blue, which is very easily blendable, might I add. These are just Viseart gold standard. You're going to get the best quality, and so they're going to be easy to work with across the board. Some people may have their opinions of that, but I personally find this palette very easy to work with, given the temperament that some of these types of shades can have for people who work across the industry of makeup. These are very temperamental shades to work with, but Viseart nails the formula. They nail the blendability, the usability, the user-friendliness, and they're just perfect. Perfect in every way. So an inky blue, a nice violet shade, a nice eggplant, and a nice olive green shade. These four on the bottom are nice, not sparkly, but they have just enough sparkle in them to really shine on the eyes. I'm getting more into coppers now. They're not the most high shine, but they're just so nice, and this is the perfect Halloween palette. It's the perfect autumnal palette. It's the color of leaves, of foliage, of just anything that would encompass fall. And the green in here is beautiful. It's an emerald, and here's a pink, the copper and gold. Beautiful, beautiful. I love this palette. I have the Paris Edit as well, and that gets much more love from me, and much more use. And I haven't used this one as much as I used that one, but I do use this, and I have gotten pretty good use out of it, considering that I don't gravitate towards these types of shades outside of the fall. So beautiful fall tone palette, and if you can find this for 40 or 50% off, which I did, I would recommend it. But if you want to spend the $39, I don't know, it's probably $45 at this point, you do you. If you have the money, I think that it's worth it, personally. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I think my battery is about to die, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Please take care of yourselves, and let me know. I want to hear from my fellow fragrance lovers on YouTube. What makeup do you like to wear? Because I know all we talk about, we can wax poetic all day on fragrances. I know. But I really am curious. What do you like to wear on your face? Do you like to wear eyeshadow? If so, tell me your favorite palettes. Tell me your favorite products. I want to know. And so with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and go, and I'll catch you in the next one. Probably going to be fragrance themed in the next video. I have some ideas up my sleeve because my boyfriend and I are going to the Renaissance Festival next week. So I've got some things related to that I'd like to discuss, that as they pertain to fragrance. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.